Bendix. Put your foot down with confidence.
We're down here this afternoon at Dobinson'S Spring and Suspension to pick up our awesome new coilovers for the Suzi build. You may remember from the first episode I said we may be able to get a sneaky little tour of the Dobinson'S factory. Well, I've managed to get hold of Ben this afternoon and he's going to give us a quick look through of the factory right now. So let's go and have a look.
I can't wait to go home. I'm on my way, driving at 90 down those country lanes.
How are you, mate? Well, hey boys.
Yeah, mate, good. So, yeah, going for a quick tour today, you reckon?
Yeah, I'll take this down. We'll go for a quick look and show you the production line, show you what we do here, show you what we're all about. So.
Yep. Just a quick one. So, a lot of people don't actually believe me that Dobinson'S originated here and the factory is still here today. So
that's it, mate. So, yeah, my grandfather, I'm third generation. So, Granddad Reg, he started the business in 1953. So, he was just a handy blacksmith at the railway. Pretty good at spring repair and really good at heat treatment. So, like every good man at their trade, on the weekends he was helping mates out and doing a few bits and pieces, and that became full-time on the weekends, and then like yourself, Walt, turns into the full-time gig. So kicked it off, and then my father and uncle joined the business sort of in the 70s, and yeah, just sort of a success story from there, from repair right through to manufacturing of the springs, and now exporting to over 70 countries around the world. So
yeah, it's crazy, mate, and it's good for our region to have a company like this housed right here.
It is, yeah. It's probably unique for Rocky and a small regional town to still have something of this capacity, producing what we do here and exporting all over the world, all out of Rocky. We're all like yourselves, born and bred here, and we love it. So
yeah, sweet. Oh, well, let's go and have a look, eh?
Let's go and get into it, boys.
Yep.
Come through this way.
Yep.
Alright, so this is the start of the coil spring manufacturing process. So we take the straight bars, as you can see up on the furnace up there. Spring steel, we cut them to length, and then you can see Gilbert here, he's just pulling these out of the furnace. So we heat them up to about 900 degrees, and we form them around a mandrel. So this is the first winder that we got, the first hot winder. I've been doing this for some 35 years or so now, forming the springs, and then depending on the spring we've got, we're also going to throw an end on them down here to make them locate the vehicle. So you can see him there just using the eye roll on the end there to form the end. So looking for a particular shape, and we're doing a free height check. So what we want to do is actually wind them hotter than what we put them finished at. And what that does is allow us to scrag the coil at a later date and get all the sag out of the coils. So we actually winding them, 20 or 30 mil higher than we want. So we're at about 900 degrees here as they come out of the furnace. Throw them into the reheat furnace, and we'll throw them in the quenching oil. So that gives us a hardening process, which takes the steel from not quite mild steel, it's still a bit harder than mild steel, and then into the hardening process, which just rearranges the grain structure and the molecules in the steel, and that's what gives us the hardness for the spring steel. Righty, so we're down here at winder 2, so this machine we built ourselves, and this is more for more automation, and we're doing a wind and quench in one process. So we're taking the steel out of here again at about 900 to 950, and then we're winding, and then we're going straight down into quenching. So Kenny's just going to do a free height check. Then we're going straight into the quench oil to give us that hardness. So again, all PLC controlled, and away we go. So we run a paperless system down here. So basically for all of our quality assurance, everything's computerized, fully tracked, so we can track the raw material, the heat numbers, the batches, right through to the end product, right through to the coil in your hand. So that's how we can guarantee that quality and quality assurance. So there we go. Righto, so this is our latest toy. I've got that new, it's a couple of years old now, so cold coil winder. So this steel, we actually start with heat treated steel, so it's already been hardened and tempered. So the steel, as you see it there, is at about 2,000 MPa. So in terms of strength, you're looking at a grade 8 hole tensile bolt, it's about 800 MPa. These ones here, that steel's already at 2000 MPa, so pretty incredible. I'll just throw this thing up. I'll throw that up for you. So as you can see there, it's taking the preheat treated steel, forcing it into the rolls, and then we have a couple of axes there, like a CNC machine, just like your machine centers, and they're moving together with our PLC programs we got there to get that spring exactly how we want it. So, it's very impressive. So this one's capacity-wise is about 5 times the hot winders, and we can do some really gnarly things with this, and particularly for our higher end stuff on the racing stuff, this one's easy to go. Righto, so from the cold winders and the hot winders go from the hardening process into a tempering furnace, anywhere between 390 and 450 degrees. That gives us the durability. Cold winders go through a stress relieving furnace and both heat here in the grinding area. So pretty simple process. We're essentially just grinding the ends of the coils to give them a flat end finish so the coils don't need that flat end finish. Take our springs here, still a little warm, they come out of the furnaces, and some of them need grinding, some of them don't, but once that process is complete we put them through shop peening. So they come over to the conveyor here, in through the robot, into the shop peener, and what we're doing is firing little ball bearings at it, and that's basically like sandblasting, and that does two things. It cleans the surface and it also pings the surface, so it stretches the surface of the steel, and that allows the steel to stretch like the skin on your bone. So as the spring compresses and your wire is flexing like this, it gives us a lot more strength and prevents tearing of the surface, which leads to a breakage. So this process here, pretty boring, but a very essential part of the manufacturing process of the coil spring.
Years old and smoking and roll cigarettes. Running from the law.
Rightio, so we've got some springs that have just come through the shop peener here, so you can sort of see the springs now. The surface is nice and clean, and you can sort of see where the little ball bearings have been fired at. It gives you those little imperfections there, but that's where we're peening. So essentially it's like getting a hammer and peening that surface to stretch it and give us that stress relief and that durability that we're looking for. So from here we go into scragging. We're going to do a quality inspection on the spring, and then we're going to compress the spring and make sure we've got no dramas with it.
Let's start making some springs soon, mate.
No way. No chance.
Years old and smoking and roll cigarettes. Running from the law through the backfield.
Alrighty, so from shop peening we go into the scragging process. So we'll do our quality check here, we'll check them dimensionally, and this is where we're really looking for any issues with the spring performance itself. So we've taken the spring from our roll height, which you can sort of see here, 510 and 520, there's a left and right hand side, and then we're bringing them down to 505 and 495 here. So that's what we're looking for. So he's taking these springs from those heights and bringing them down to our final height. So this is at the stage here is where we'll find any quality issues. If they're going to sag, they're going to break, this is where we're going to pick them up. So bringing them down, press them right down, and away we go. So
Friday night.
Where we see the Dobinson'S Aqua paint, mate, eh?
that's it, mate. So from scragging there and quality inspection, we then come into powder coating. So pretty standard powder coating process. We take the clean shop peen springs and we hang them on our chain here and straight into the booth here. So you throw the camera down there, stick your head in there, and you'll be able to see the spray just going up and down. So have a look, mate.
Yeah, righto.
You see them going up into the furnace, up into the spray booth, sorry. So once they're through the booth, as you can see here, they've got the powder on it, so just wipe the top off there, the top of the hook, and you can see the powder, so it's literally like your powder. It's actually a plastic. So what we do with that then, once it's on the spring, we put it through a baking oven at about 200 degrees. Goes in there for about 40 odd minutes or so. And that bakes that powder coat plastic, melts it onto the surface, and that gives us that beautiful finish that we're looking for.
Then you chuck a bit of clear coat on it or something?
No, that's all built into the powder coat, so that actually is the gloss finish of the powder coat. So straight through as it is, straight off the hook, and then we go straight into wrapping. So we'll make our way over to the wrapping machines and give you a look over there.
Back to when we found weekend jobs and when we got paid, we'd buy.
Once we're through the powder coating process, now we're just moving into the labelling and the wrapping stage. So take the springs off the chain, we're applying the labels, and again, on that computer system, we've traced the quality the whole way from start to finish, right from the manufacturer of the steel. So that tags everyone's details, and then we put that on our batch number on the label here, and we can track that from when the customer has the spring. So if we have an issue, we can look at that batch of who's done what to it, how long it took, the raw ingredients of the steel and everything. So that's where our traceability and quality assurance. Then from there we go onto our wrapping machine. So this used to be a manual task, but we designed and built these machines ourselves basically for full automation. So one of my boys come to say hello. So yeah, we designed and built these ourselves just to take a bit of that labour content out of it. So a couple of springs, as you can see here, a couple of springs. This is the bar D23 rear, and they're heading off to Dobinson'S, Melbourne. So take the springs, finish them up onto the pallet, away they go.
Unreal, mate.
That's the process, boys.
So how long is it from start to finish with one set of coils?
Yeah, so I mean, each spring itself will be sort of under 10 minutes is our actual labour time spent on each spring. We've got to work super hard to reduce that. Labour costs here are quite high, but the process itself to start one spring and follow it right through is sort of 4 or 5 hours. But we're not spending that long on every spring. So.
Yeah, right. Pretty good though, eh?
It is, mate. Still Aussie manufacturing. I know you guys love it as well. So not much of it left these days. So we're really proud of it, and always love the opportunity to bring you guys through and show you what we're all about.
It's in Rocky too, mate. Good to see.
Absolutely, mate. Regional too. So yeah, got to keep flying the flag.
Yep. No, sweet.
Right, mate. So that's it for coils. Let's say we go have a look at these coilovers and have a look at the shocks and go from there.
Yep. Right,
sounds good. Chile, Saudi Arabia, bunch of pallets down there for USA. These ones are going, I think, to Europe.
Which country is your biggest customer, mate?
Outside
of Australia?
Outside of Australia, probably have to be USA, and then probably the Middle East after that.
Yeah.
But even surprisingly, probably, you know, USA, Dubai, Saudi Arabia, and then sort of Southeast Asia is massive for us as well. So surprisingly, Philippines, Thailand, Malaysia, those countries.
Amazing, it's all coming out of Rocky.
It is, and they've still got the same passions that we do around four-wheel driving, getting outdoors and off-road. So it's a good thing. Let's go and have a look at these coilovers, mate.
Yeah.
This is why it takes me an hour when I'm looking for a set of coils, because the place is just so big, so everywhere. So, and this is only not even half of what we stock, so that's just some hand-picked numbers that we can pick easily. But yeah, it goes right down, so like anything, we need more real estate, but yeah, it is very hard to come by, and
Top secret.
it's just, mate, this is the lab. This is where the magic happens. If I could, I would spend all my time in here.
You love it, eh?
I do love it. This is the part I don't get to. A lot of stuff is just day-to-day business management and that sort of thing, which is the boring stuff. But yeah, I do like to, where I can, get out over here and do this stuff. So I'm just going to slap this back together.
The whole MRA, these adjustable shocks is a lot to do with it, is because of you, isn't it?
Yeah, essentially, it's not just me. We had a really good guy in Sydney as well who sort of back in about 2012, I suppose, we started sort of going down the monotube path and the remote reses. And that just progressed from there. And then 2015, I sort of started working on the adjustable thing, the MRAs, because that's sort of really where we need that versatility.
Yeah.
It's so many different vehicles and everyone's weighs different amounts.
Got different trays, canopies.
Exactly. Yeah. So, all right. So we'll have a quick look at these coilovers while we're over here. So,
here's a little Suzi one.
These are for the Suze. So they're not so little actually, but hold on to that fella. Yeah. Right. So they're basically a dual coil coilover, 2.5 inch or 66 mil. So our slider goes on here. So what we do, we seat one coil on the top there, one on the bottom, and then this separator here or slider slides up and down, and that will change the spring rate during the travel of the shock absorber. So essentially you'll be riding sort of on 2 springs, and then as you hit a big bump, these will come up and will contact on our stoppers there, and that will increase your spring rate. So we'll go from working on 2 springs to 1 spring and increase your spring rate. So quick rundown, monotube, remote res, coilover. So that's our finned res, adjustable like our MRA. So basically identical, except we run a lot more flow in these, bigger hoses and more flow in the res adjusters there. So we've got the high and low speed compression on the res, just like our MRAs, and then down on the bottom of the rod here we have our rebound. So I'll just throw that up here. So these are the ones for the Suze. And I'll just grab this rod here, which I had before. So this is your rod assembly, so you can see your rebound adjuster. So there's probably, I don't know, I guess in this assembly, I'll say probably 40 or 50 parts. So quite intricate, but we essentially gun drill the rod, which is quite difficult when you start talking 14-inch coilovers. But been working on them at machining for a long time to get that right. So we gun drill them, and that allows us to fit the rebound adjuster in the end here. So it essentially allows oil to flow in these small holes here and then exit through here, through the center of our high flow piston and then out. So we've got a check valve on there that makes it in one direction only. Inside there we've got a needle and seat, which is just adjustable by the grub screw. So again, I don't know too many other coilovers that are three-way adjustable with the rebound adjustment. That normally requires a reshim. So for our main market, again, differing weights, differing setups. So you can sort of get yourself pretty close with these. But again, when you're talking a universal coilover, you're talking everything from a 13 or 1400 kilo Suzuki right up to a 3.5 ton patrol or cruiser. So you will be reshimming these things, but we will supply these things with spare shims. So basically the customer can turn them down. They're rebuildable, tunable, all that sort of thing. So we put a lot of time into the new piston, compression face there, so you can see. I really worked on getting the fulcrum points of where the shims bend in a nice spot and plenty of flow. So really worked on getting a stack of flow. So we ended up having to stick with the CNC aluminium style. So you can see that one in there. She's all CNC machined and stacks of flow. So really been working well for us and allows us to have nice control over the damping. So
what size do they come in? 10?
So they'll be coming in 10s, 12s and 14s, only in 2.5 inch at this stage. And that's basically what the majority of the market wants. So we'll get these out there and then we'll see what happens over the coming sort of months, whether we can get some welding kits available as well for the popular stuff. I don't know if that's possible, but if we can do that, and that just makes that usability for the end user a lot easier if there's a welding kit available, like we do with the hydro bumps, to buy it, weld it in and go straight down the coilover path and make sure it's all been engineered and set up to suit. So that's the coilovers. That's a quick rundown.
Can people buy them now, or are they still coming?
They're here now, so we have a small amount of stock at the moment. So give us a call. We've got a few that are just probably arriving next week, and then we'll have more stock in from there. So over 100 parts in these things, so a lot of assembly goes into them. So
Pretty cool, mate. It's state-of-the-art stuff you got there going on.
It is, and I put a lot of time and a lot of development, a lot of testing into getting these right. So, yeah, I reckon these things in the Suzi, mate, from the old Lee Springs, they'll be a fair change. So,
yeah, definitely save me back for a few more years anyway.
I reckon so, mate. So I'm thinking we go load these scales into the back of the ute, head out to Walls and weigh it up and throw a few measurements on it and see what we can come up with.
Yeah, righto. Let's go.
Righto. All right, I'm thinking Wall. We're gonna probably go with the 3-link in the front. Try and keep it simple for the front. It doesn't need to be too complex with the solid axles and just with the steering setup. So we want to try and, we can eliminate as much bumps there as we can. So thinking we 3-link the front.
Yep.
And then we do a triangulated 4-link in the rear. And so the plan is basically we'll scale it to get the corner weights. We'll pick the back up and that'll allow us to get the center of gravity position of the car. And from there we can work out the anti-squat percentage for the rear. So traditionally, coilovers for a patrol or a cruiser or something, or any sort of off-road car, we'd be looking at about 70-80% anti-squat in the rear. With this being short wheelbase and the size of that turbo, I'm thinking we our drag racing setup's normally, 110 to 150% anti-squat. I'm thinking we sort of keep it pretty neutral around 100. And if we've got some real estate for them, the front mount on them upper arms and the rear, we might put a few holes there so we can adjust the anti-squat percentage, and that way we'll be able to have a bit of a tune with it, and find a nice spot where it can sort of still eat some decent whoops, but behave well in the strip as well. So.
Yeah, sweet. Sounds good, mate. Well, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
This is how legends are made.
Right, 2006. So what we're doing here, we've just got our corner weights and our total curve weight. I've just got a little digital level on here. So the plan is, you've got to bring it up sort of above about 15 degrees, and then we recheck the weights on the front. And what we're doing is finding the center of gravity height, something that we'll use for the anti-squat percentage. So we can use these weights front to back to find left to right to find where the position of the center of gravity is this way and this way. So by jacking this up and then retaking the front weights, I can then plug that in with some formulas.
Yeah, let's chuck it in there somewhere.
Work out from there. So, so we're going to 1.1 degrees at the moment. So you'll see the little level there starting to change. So it's 10. So just keep going up. We've actually got to get to 16.1 at least. Yeah. So just keep going. Just stop there. Okay, so I'm just gonna get that now. So just go up a shade more if you can. All right, stop there. 17. All right, just take your hand off, Dave. All right, just hold there, everyone. Right, left. It's plate 2, plate 1. You can see the weight. Look at the weight on the side over here. Yeah. All right, I'll just leave this one, then I'll stand on the side. Fuck yeah.
Tim?
Well, it looks like we're pretty much finished up here, mate. How'd you go?
Yeah, well, we've got the corner weights, we've got the centre gravity height. Looking like in the front, we're probably going to go down the path of an SJ80 front. So factory Suzuki coil Sierra front. Just it puts the tie rod behind the diff and just sorts out a whole lot of dramas.
Yeah.
That way, it's just a matter of mounting up the panhard and the rear radius arm mounts.
Yeah.
In the rear, we'll stick with that 4-link. We've got all the measurements. We go plug that into the calculators now and make it work.
Happy days.
Happy days. So.
Gee, you made it look easy, mate. I'm glad you know what you're doing.
A lot of science, a lot of research, and a lot of practice. But no, we'll make this thing work well, mate. So
Yeah, no worries. Cheers
all
for coming
good.
down and cheers for
Anytime.
the tour today.
No worries. Thanks, Wally. Catch us later, boys.
Yeah, see you later.
Fucking
This thing is going to be handful.com.
hell. Oh, fuck yeah.
I've got that lightning inside me, son of a god. I'm like a titan that's rising, oh, just you watch. I'm stepping into fate, there is no time to waste. I've got that lightning inside me, this is how legends are made. This is how legends are made. This is how legends are made.
Just down here at Waltech this hour, just going to go and check a bit of the progress on the Suzuki. So just go and see what Wall and Dan are doing now. Wall, how you going, mate?
Hey.
Whoop. How you going, man?
Yeah, pretty good.
What's going on here? Looks like a bit of work, eh?
Ticking through the rear at the moment. Just processing through what Dobinson'S has supplied us as a spec sheet.
Yep,
So just trying to make sure the whole falling and the interrometry is all set up correctly.
yep.
But yeah, so far it's not too bad. A lot of time and effort being into trying to get all the stuff drawn up as per, cab
Yeah.
and everything. But
Finding room for everything, it's a bit hard.
room up against the cab, the size of the diff center, all that sort of thing is coming into play at the moment. But
Yeah. Just wondering where we're going to put the fuel tank, but we'll worry about that later, eh?
I'll be sitting on your lap, I think.
This is how legends are made.
We got the whole turbo system for the Suzuki on the ground here. We didn't get too much footage of it while he was building it, just because it's so tedious and he's back and forth to all the machinery around the shop. But just give us a bit of a rundown what you did while you're building it, mate.
Yeah, so obviously Garrett has supplied the turbo and the wastegate for you.
Yeah,
So we've tried to make obviously everything fit into what room we have.
yep. Which is not much.
Not much at all, but also while trying to utilise a really high effective core itself and then trying to utilise and make the tanks and everything to suit it.
Yep.
Also, a lot of the flanges and stuff are as thick as possible to obviously retain rigidity and stop any warpage and stuff in the future.
Yep.
It's all made out of 2-inch twin into a single T4, which is obviously more than enough flow for what this setup is for.
Yeah, no, looks really good. And you made all the ends for the intercooler yourself, and
Yeah, I had to make this cooler for obvious reasons. We wanted the biggest size we can get
yep.
with obviously the tanks and the inlets and outlets to line up with where it has to go.
Yeah, and it's got a really efficient core on it.
Yeah, so this core here is probably around the 7 to 10 kilos on its own.
Yep.
So it's a super dense core. You actually cannot see daylight either which way you look through it. So
Yep.
we're actually
Yeah,
trying
wow.
to slow down the air.
Yep. It's looking pretty good, mate. It's very, very, very nice welding as well.
Yeah. It won't stay like that forever, but I reckon if we put some powder coat and stuff on it, it'll look really good.
Yep. Righto. Cheers, mate.
This is how legends are made. This is how legends are made. This is how legends are made.
Bendix. Put your foot down with confidence.